additional opportunities and trying to make the best for your family. So that's how I got here.
Right.
So how did you mentioned that you married a Brooklyn guy.
Yes.
In Jamaica?
Actually, he came here when he was 2 years old and always wanted to go back to Jamaica.
Oh, okay.
So when he graduated from college, he went back to Jamaica. That's where we met.
And he discovered you. Right,
he
he found
discovered
you.
me, but more importantly, he decided that the pace was too slow for him.
Okay.
So he was going to come back.
Okay.
And then I came back.
But is your story a typical one? I mean, you came here to a family and blah, you know.
My story is typical for the age.
For 30 years ago.
The age when I migrated. You know, there are people who migrate when they're in their teens because their parents came ahead of them.
Right.
And by the time they settled and was able to take them, they were like 13 or 14 years old. So they had to deal with a lot of other issues like peer pressure and, you know, trying to adjust, which I at any age, at which you migrate, it's difficult because it's a different system.
Did you find it very difficult
It was very difficult because I had to uproot myself from family,
Right.
you know.
What about
from,
culture?
From community, from community, and establish new ties. Now, culture. At the time when I came, you see, in 1965. When they had the 1965 immigration laws.
Think of it.
Right.
That was when they opened up the borders for people from the Caribbean to migrate to New York City en masse.
Right.
You know, before that there was a wave like in the 30s and 40s when the Harry Belafontes of the world and the Muriel Pettioni and
that's where you're seeing Italians
yes,
coming
and they
over.
settled in
Right.
Harlem.
Right.
But they were more dispersed. They assimilated in the broader African American community. The group that came in 1965 were a lot of unskilled laborers because that was what the United States wanted at the time.
Right.
So they came in,
Interesting.
most
Yes,
of them,
yes.
and the pattern of migration for Caribbean immigrants is very different from that of any other group.
Why?
Because
Why is that?
the women tend to come first.
Ah.
The women come
right,
first.
right.
And why is that?
Because it's easier for them to find work.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they migrate in their prime childbearing years of 15 to 44.
But what kind of tensions does that create
Which
in the family?
means,
though? You'll get
which
to that.
means that they have to leave young children
Children
behind.
Wow.
With
And
relatives.
yes,
there.
and so because at the time the United States was looking for unskilled workers, a lot of them came up and they did domestic work. So it was very, very, very traumatic for them because there they were leaving their young
Their
babies
bonds with their
at
children.
home
Right.
to come and take care of other babies.
But
wondering.
Yvonne, that was the sacrifice because you
Yes.
saw a goal, you saw
Yes.
a better way of
Yes.
living.
But remember,
wondering.
you're
But you're
but
paying-
also
but you're
missing
paying-
something.
you're paying a
Yes,
price.
yes,
Right, that experience.
Yes,
That
yes.
was not my experience.
Right.
I
Right.
came
But
here-
these were all very conscious choices.
Absolutely.
And that's the
Yes.
thing that's
And
fascinating.
so
to me.
yes, and
Yes.
so when you come with when you make a conscious decision to come,
Yes.
you come with a specific goal in mind.
Right.
And it's usually three-pronged. To pursue educational goals, to make sure that you help to take care of family back home,
Right.
and that you create some kind of wealth here. Now, you're not coming with money, so there is no old money, and so we have a system where our surest way of securing and building wealth is through real estate and home ownership.
Right.
So if
Wow.
you go into Caribbean
true.
Very
Right.
positive,
Right.
very
you will
positive.
find that those
Right.
communities have a very high rate of home ownership.
Wow, that's so
Right.
interesting.
Yes.
That is
It's
very
really interesting.
But you mentioned something also that the goal in the beginning is always to come to do the things and then ultimately to get back. How often do people actually get back?
You know, unfortunately, not very often. You come and you get caught up in a system, and I was absolutely amazed when I came, and I wanted to go to school and I wanted to get a loan or something, and they told me that I needed to establish credit, and I said, no, I don't want any credit cards.
That's part of
Yes,
right.
that's
because
right.
you know I need
That's
to
cultural.
save my money because I hear that when you have credit cards you never get out of debt, and so no, you have to have a credit card, so I had to run to A&S,
Right,
know,
right.
A&S
Yes,
is downtown
yes.
to try to
That's
get the
exactly
what I
card, and so then you have the school loan, and then you try to buy a house, and you buy a car, and so you're caught up always paying bills that you can never get out of.
But
And that's
isn't
what
the,
I-
but I'd like to, but I'd
and
like,
so you're never able sometimes to go
go
back
back
home.
home.
Right.
but I'd like to look at the flip side of that, something very interesting you said about you